Good evening and welcome to night 9 of Chris and Ralph Halloween recommendations. So, the last few nights we have been doing films that are in black and white, and tonight we're going to continue that theme. Yesterday we did Frankenstein, the classic Universal Monsters, and what better movie to follow up with that than The Bride of Frankenstein? The Bride of Frankenstein is a classic within the Universal Monsters franchise. First of all, The Bride of Frankenstein, the bride, she is probably one of the best Halloween costumes that you can do. So that's just a plus right off the bat. So obviously, this film is a sequel to the 1931 Frankenstein film. We see Boris Karloff continue his role as the classic monster, and we see Colin Clive play Victor Frankenstein, and we see the introduction of Ernest the Seeger as Dr. Pretorius. So, this film follows immediately the events of the first Frankenstein movie. If you remember, we see that the monster is chased by the town mob and he's burned to a crisp until he wasn't. He wasn't. That's where there's a sequel. Yeah, the monster has to be alive to have a sequel. So, that's a plus as well. So this film follows the monster primarily on how he is learning more and more and more. In the first one, he's just a bumbling abomination. He's considered a fool, but in reality, he's learning. He's actually saying words. He's actually becoming self aware of who he is. He's becoming self aware of who made him, and that was Victor Frankenstein. So throughout the film, we start to see him stumble across people, meeting, friends, meeting foes, and how he handles himself in tense situations. Victor Frankenstein, he is still recovering from his injuries from the first film caused by his monster, so he is in a vulnerable state, and he's with his wife or his fiance would-be wife Elizabeth, played by Valerie Hobson. Earlier, like I mentioned, we meet Dr. Pretorius. Dr. Pretorius is a mad scientist who wants to recreate the experiment done by Victor Frankenstein himself. But the difference between Dr. Pretorius and Victor Frankenstein is Dr. Pretorius is willing to hurt alive, innocent people to achieve what needs to be done for his goal. His ultimate goal is he wants to make a bride for the monster. The reason why? Because he feels that the monster, the only way to stop him to kill others is to actually give him a bride. Speaking of the bride, we see that she's played by the beautiful Elsa Lancaster. Um, Heads up, we don't see the bride a lot in this film. So if you're expecting to see her 24/7, you're not going to. But there is a wonderful build up to the reveal of this character. First off, she's stunning. Her eyes are just magnifying, like, you just gravitate towards her presence in the room that she is in. The monster, like I mentioned, he's becoming self-aware. So he understands that he has a potential bride in the Bride of Frankenstein. There are twists and turns, especially at the end. Is it a happy ending? Is it not a happy ending for the monster himself, for Dr. Pretorius, and for the would-be Bride of Frankenstein? Does Victor Frankenstein get his coming ups for his role in the murders of those innocent people in the first film? Well, that's why I recommend this movie for you to watch this Halloween season to get in the mood for the spooky season. It is a classic black and white film and a sequel, so it obviously has a continuation story and it has ties it follows from the first movie. So I think it's just a wonderful 1-2 punch to watch. It's a double feature, Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein. You can check them out on Peacock today. But guys, that wraps up night 9 of our Chris and Ralph Halloween recommendations. So please like, share, and subscribe and turn on those notifications for every video this month. Coming up, Friday the 13th is in a few days. Friday the 13th. So that's a little hint. We're also going to get into some Jordan Peele movies. I am excited to talk about those. So keep an eye out for those videos. But as always, guys, I'll catch you next time. I'm Chris, and happy Halloween. Peace.